All right, it's been a little bit of time between videos, but we're diving into some more C# and just really building out our knowledge in this language, starting with the basics. And very soon, like I said, very soon we're going to be getting into the really interesting stuff where we're actually learning specifically security, pen testing related stuff, red teaming related stuff with the language. So the last time we created this pretty cool for each loop to just loop through and open all these websites in our browser. Well, this time we're going to be looking at some more fundamentals here, and we're going to cover methods. So methods are basically functions. So if you use Python, you define it as a function, and you can just reuse its code that you would run more than once, basically. Modular code. So let's just try that ourselves. I'll move this over here. And let's see, we'll just clear this out. And let's make sure I'm getting the curly braces right. Looks like I have an extra one somewhere, I think. Yeah, there we go. All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. Oh, no. There we go. So what we'll do is we already have a method here, right? We have a main method because C# is one of those languages where you always have to have a main method. Now, Python is not like that, but this main method is special to the language. I do believe you need it. Let's just test that theory, right? I'm pretty sure if I were to remove this and let's say I do a console.writeLine, I just try to do console.writeLine, and it's already red here. I think it's like that because it's outside of it. It doesn't have a main method, but this is a test. Let's just try that. And this is just a requirement of the language, basically. So you always have to have a main method. If I highlight this, let's see what it says. This class cannot be inherited. So as you see here, we can already tell that this thing is going to fail. And I mean, even if I try to run it, it'll probably basically have an error message telling me the same thing. So yeah, there's errors on your build, invalid token in class, or interface member declaration. It's good to read the error messages always, even in situations like this where you're just testing stuff, because you might see that error message in the future or something similar to that, and it'll give you more experience and more exposure, more insight on what that actually is trying to tell you. So the way we fix this problem, it defaulted to my last. The way Visual Studio works, by the way, is if your code fails, it will default to the last working build, which for us was when we ran the script to open a bunch of sites in our browser. So that's why that happened. But yeah, to fix this, I'll just hit Control-Z a bunch of times, essentially, and get this main method back. And now we could do the console.writeLine. So let's create a different method outside of here and call that method. So we can keep it within the class program. We're just going to create a new method. So we'll use static. This will be a static method, and we tell it what it's going to return. If we don't want it to return any value, then we can just return void. So we can say static void, and let's call this whatever we want. So if we call it, let's just say fire laser. Kind of like that one. Fire laser. And what we're going to do with this, and I'm kind of just looking at this over on the other monitor right now. See one of my flashy backgrounds. I don't know why that minimized, but there we go. So whatever we want to call it, right? And then we're going to say what it does inside these curly braces. And we're going to do, we'll just do console.writeLine, pew, pew, pew. So now, obviously, if I just ran it like this, I'll just do console.writeLine, preparing laser. And if I just ran it like this, right? What would you expect to happen? You know, as you're developing the code, you know, ask yourself these questions. What is going to happen right now? What is going to happen when I make this change or that change? What would you guys expect? Let's try it. Now, is this what you expected? Yes or no? Or did you perhaps expect to see the pew, pew, pew? Now, why don't we see that on the terminal here? Well, the reason is that we defined our method up here, and you can even kind of tell by the fact this is kind of dimmed out right now. It's a little bit dimmer, and that means it's like you defined this thing, but you never actually used it in your program. So we defined the method, but we never called the method. So in order to actually execute the code inside these curly braces here is we have to call the fire laser method. So let's just have a little bit of fun with this, shall we? Let's make like 3 methods. Let's play around with this stuff. We could have multiple methods, right? So we got fire laser. Let's make we'll say is ready because we want to check that it's ready before we fire this thing off, you know? And then let's create one that will be the one to, you know, prepare laser. And let's follow that syntax of, you know, that having it capital like that. And so now what we can do is just take this preparing laser and put it inside here in prepare laser, right? And then after that, we're going to check if it's ready. And we could even play around with a Boolean value, right? We can do some kind of check to see if it's ready or not. So if we add an if statement and we'll call this variable status and we got to say what it is. So bool status. And that's something we can look up as well as how we can pass arguments in as parameters. That's actually the next section. So if we want to pass something in, we just got to say the data type and then the name of the variable. So we were correct there. So bool status, so it's a Boolean, so it can either be true or false. That's the only 2 values it could be. And we can say if true, let's see here. If status equals true. I think that's right. Let me review. See, here's the thing of me always forgetting syntax and stuff like that and why it's not important to remember. I forgot the syntax. I'm just going to go look it up, right? What is the syntax for an if statement? And we scroll down. If and then condition wrapped in parentheses. So let's just do that. So if, then wrap this, if status equals true, then what will we do? If it's true, let me just fix this. The formatting got a bit messed up. So if the status is true, then console.writeLine systems all green. And it's just systems all green in all caps here. And then after that, you know, if it's not, right, we'll wrap this in the else block. So else, then we will do console.writeLine negative. negative powering down. And we can even, what we could do here as well is we can actually terminate the program at this point because we're powering down, right? So what we would do in that case is after this line, we can do a break statement, I believe, which is not something we looked at yet in these videos, but let's see here. Break and continue, see? So you should be able to do a break. We'll break out of the loop, actually. So we could Google that, right? C# terminate program. How do we just force terminate out of the program? We can do an exit or this dot close perhaps. Let's try that. I'm not sure if I need like an import or something, but what we'll say is if that runs, then we'll do a this dot close. And you know, like I said, I've never used this before. That's just something I looked up and I found live on this video here. And we are seeing an issue here. I think we have to use this inside. There's some stipulations to use this. So let's see. I'm going to Google C# exit program. How do I properly exit a C# application? There's probably multiple ways to do this. That's why I'm looking here. Let's see what the reply is here. See, did I miss it? This is when dealing with threads. We're not dealing with threads at the moment. Okay, so we do have this exit. Okay, here we go. This is from Microsoft documentation, actually. It says, exit informs all message pumps that they must terminate and then closes all application windows after the messages have been processed. So let's try that. I think they put a space here, so let's make sure we don't have that. Okay, application.exit. That's probably what we actually need to specify. So let's just try that, see if it underlines it in red or not. And maybe we need an import. System environment exit 0. Okay, we imported system, I believe, so we probably could do it with less code than this, but let's just start here. Try this, and it's good. Now, we are using system here, so let's just try environment.exit and see if that works. Okay, yeah, it looks like that will, in fact, work for us. So let's just do that. So now we're powering down. And yeah, if that seemed like a tedious process, sometimes it will be. Sometimes it'll take a little bit longer to find the right answer you're looking for. And we could have played around with the other stuff and figured out why it wasn't working. And, you know, if I was just doing this off video, that's probably something that I would look into is what are the other ways that people are commonly doing it? What's the different ways? What is like the most commonly used way? Things like that, right? So if it's ready, we'll do that. And then if it is, then we're going to want to fire off the laser, of course, right? So we'll just do pew, pew, pew down here, right? So now in the main method, we're going to be calling all these other methods in the order that we need to call them, right? So let's do that. Let me just get the proper spacing here. Let's start off. What's the first thing we're going to need to do, right? We're going to need to prepare the laser. So we're going to make a call to prepare laser. And then once this code runs, what we're going to want to do is we're going to have to set this Boolean somewhere, right? So what we could do is do it when we call this next method, right? So we're going to need to check if it's ready. So we could just hard code it for now. And we could say, I think we can define it bool ready equals true. Not sure if we can assign it. and pass it in here. There's probably a better way to do this, but I'm pretty confident that if I say that bool ready is equal to true. Oh wait, hold up. Let me try that change. Not sure if I can assign it and everything in the same line. Let me just... Yeah, because it looks like it's red here. So the way I'm going to do it for now, I might tweak this later, but let's just assign this variable here and then just pass it in. And that's going to be passed into the isReady function. And if it's true, which it is, we should see systems all green. And then if systems are all green, if and only if systems are all green, do we want to fire the laser, right? So let's just put this here. And there we go. Now we have a little simple program going on. So let's just go ahead and run that and see what happens. Preparing laser, systems all green, pew, 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 right? Obviously that runs super fast. We could make it be a little bit cooler, a little bit more interesting, right? What if we make it take a little bit of time, you know? We can add some sleeps in there. So let's see. Is that a section in here? I'm not sure if it is. Let's just look up C# sleep. This is something we're going to need to do definitely for when we get on to the more complicated code that we're going to write, more complex code. So I might need to import something. System threading, well, that's for threading. Is this part of that namespace? It might be. Yeah, thread.sleep. So we're going to actually, and that might be why we failed last time. We didn't import the correct thing. So let's import this namespace that we see up here. System threading. And I forgot the using keyword. So we'll do this import. And now let's try sleep and pass it in a 32 byte integer. So what are we going to do? We're going to prepare the laser, and then we're going to sleep for 3 seconds. And what are we missing here? Maybe we do threading.sleep. So using system.threading, thread.sleep. Okay. I had to look into an example here. So that's what we're going to want to replace this with. Thread. Just thread.sleep, 3 seconds, preparing laser, and then it's going to go ahead and jump to isReady, systems all green, and we'll do another thread dot sleep 3, and then we will fire off the laser. So let's just try that. It might look a little more realistic this time, perhaps. And for whatever reason, it fired it off super fast. That's interesting. That might be a part of the language. Maybe like when it was loading up, it was counting the time then. That's interesting. Was this milliseconds or seconds? In Python, if I put 3 here, this is seconds. So let's go back into the documentation here. I think it was milliseconds. It defaults to milliseconds. Whereas in Python, see, milliseconds timeout. And that's a key distinction, right? Because in Python, if I put 3, that would be 3 seconds. So if I want to sleep for 3 seconds, I actually need to put in 3,000. So we're definitely learning a lot of key intricacies of the language here in doing this. So now let's try it. Preparing laser. Systems all green. Pew, pew, pew. Awesome. Let's test the other case, though. Let's make sure this is working as we expect it to. What if it's not ready? What if the laser isn't ready? Then what happens? Let's run this test. Preparing laser. Negative, powering down. And it closed out of the program just as we wanted it to with the exit call. So yeah, hopefully this one was educational for you and you could play around with it, have some fun. This is just something that I came up with over the last 20 minutes here, just on the fly. I had no idea that I was going to come up with a little laser program. So, just make something that you, out of your own imagination, whatever you want, just have a little fun with it. This is definitely, in my opinion, a lot more interesting than just following text from, practices from a book. This is definitely the way that I like to learn. And it's really only limited by your own imagination, what you want to do with it. I kept adding stuff to it, incorporating different things. What if I wanted to sleep for a certain amount of time? How do I do that, right? What if I want to add this feature over here? How do I do that? And along the course of it, you're learning on an as-needed basis. You're learning what you need to learn to accomplish your tasks. Similarly, when you are trying to build a security tool or you're trying to bypass antivirus with C#, there's going to be certain things that are going to come up that you're going to need to learn, and you're going to learn those things on it. You're going to need to have the ability to learn those things on that as-needed basis. We're definitely training ourselves for that skill set. So hopefully this helped you guys. And if you follow along with this, you want to get into the field, learning programming is a great starting point. Whether it is Python or C#, whatever language it is, it's definitely, a good thing to learn programming. It's only going to help you, and it's only a matter of time before you're ready for the job interview process. So definitely check out in the link below the top 10 pen testing interview questions that you need to know to ace your next interview and get that absolutely for free. And so check that out there. And if you want to get to more content, I have that on the screen for you right now. I'll see you guys right over in those videos. Thanks.